Daily Scrum is one of the 4 formal inspect and adapt opportunities in the Scrum framework. It happens every single day of a sprint, and it is a 15-minute time-boxed event, meaning it doesn't take longer than 15 minutes. Importantly, the event is by and for the developers. They choose how to use that 15 minutes to inspect and adapt their progress. Primarily, the Daily Scrum is one of the events where we take a look at the progress made to the sprint backlog. We inspect the artifact of the sprint backlog. The way we do that is entirely up to the developers. Sometimes they might use complementary practices like 3 questions. Sometimes they might throw a ball around the room so that they change up who talks. Sometimes they start by saying, "This is our sprint goal. What progress have we made in the last 24 hours that has brought us closer to that?" You can facilitate as developers how you choose. It's the purpose and how effective it is that matters. Now, I've said it's by and for the developers. That doesn't mean that the product owner and the Scrum Master can't attend. In fact, sometimes for transparency, it's helpful that they do. But the important part is that the developers choose. Sometimes the product owner and Scrum Master do attend, but they do so as silent participants. The important part is that they aren't derailing the discussion that the developers need to have focused on that sprint goal. They aren't asking lots of questions. The Daily Scrum can be as technical as needed for the developers to inspect their product backlog items and looking at that sprint goal. They discuss using their common language, the definition of done, about how much progress they've made and what changes they need to make it more likely that sprint goal will be met. Now, the outcomes of a Daily Scrum are varied depending on team. Mainly, it's about improving transparency, but also we have outputs. Our outputs are that we have updated our sprint backlog based on the adaptations that we've seen we needed. But also, another output is that we have discussed any impediments. Impediments are things that slow down our delivery and are things that we can't, as a Scrum team, resolve ourselves. Those impediments are surfaced, either in the Daily Scrum if the Scrum Master's there, or we raise them directly to the organization ourselves as an empowered, self-managing team. Importantly, we discuss our impediments and see if we can resolve them ourselves. As developers, we don't pass it straight off to the Scrum Master to say, "Hey, fix this for us." That's not a self-managing team. And even so, a Scrum Master doesn't help us if he or she is just doing things that we could do ourselves. So to summarize, the Daily Scrum is a 15-minute time-boxed event to inspect and adapt the progress we've made on our sprint backlog. It makes it more likely that the sprint goal will be met. Primarily, it's for the developers, but the other accountabilities can attend if needed.